Captain Marcus Hale crouched behind a jagged wall of metal and concrete, his rifle pressed tightly against his shoulder. Smoke and sparks swirled in the air around him as the alien city of Valara burned. The once proud towers now leaned at odd angles, shattered by plasma blasts and explosions. Somewhere nearby, cries of panic and terror echoed, distorted by the thick clouds of smoke that covered the streets like a choking blanket. Marcus's heart pounded in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. He had faced hostile worlds before, but this one was different. Valara was not just another planet. Its people were highly advanced, with technology that blurred the line between biology and machinery. They were also fiercely proud and deeply rooted in traditions that humans rarely understood. He checked the holographic map projected from his wrist device. Red dots marked hostile forces advancing through the city, closing in on a vital location. Marcus frowned. According to intelligence, Princess Lyria, the heir to the Valaran throne, was trapped inside the city's royal sector. If the princess was captured or killed, the fragile balance of power on Valara would collapse. "Move, Marcus," whispered Sergeant Kellen, peeking around the corner beside him. "They're swarming the streets." Marcus nodded and gestured for Kellen to follow. The two soldiers darted across debris-strewn streets, moving from one ruined building to the next. Above them, alien aircraft streaked across the sky, firing beams of energy that scorched the ground. The scent of burning metal and ozone made Marcus's stomach twist, but he forced himself to focus. As they approached the palace gates, Marcus caught sight of her. Princess Lyria. She was pinned behind a fallen structure, a look of fear etched across her delicate features. Her ceremonial robes were torn and stained with dirt and blood, but she moved with an elegance that betrayed her royal upbringing. A squad of armored alien mercenaries had surrounded her, their weapons glinting in the harsh light. Without thinking, Marcus sprinted forward, firing his rifle with precise bursts. Each shot found its mark, sending the attackers tumbling backward or ducking for cover. Kellen provided covering fire, but Marcus was the first to reach Lyria. He grabbed her arm and pulled her close. "Princess, we need to move now," he shouted. Lyria looked up at him, her large violet eyes wide with shock. You're human," she said, her voice trembling. "Why are you risking your life for me?" Marcus shrugged, forcing a smile. "Because it's the right thing to do. Come on." They ran together, ducking under shattered archways and leaping over molten puddles of metal. Marcus's training kept him calm, calculating even as explosions ripped apart the buildings around them. He felt a sharp pain in his shoulder where debris had grazed him, but he ignored it. Lyria was the priority. Finally, they reached a narrow alley that led to a hidden transport bay. Marcus quickly hacked into the control panel with his wrist device, overriding the security protocols. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing a small hovercraft capable of high-speed flight. "Get in," Marcus ordered. Lyria hesitated, her gaze flicking toward the burning city. "What about your men?" she asked. "They'll be fine." "Now move," Marcus barked. She climbed in and Marcus followed. The engines roared to life and the hovercraft lifted off the ground, narrowly avoiding falling debris. Outside, the city burned, but inside, the princess and her human savior were momentarily safe. As they soared above the city, Lyria finally relaxed, her hands gripping the edge of her seat. "I don't understand," she said softly. "Why would you risk your life for someone you barely know?" Marcus glanced at her, his face serious. "We humans believe in helping those who can't help themselves. It doesn't matter if we know them or not. What matters is doing what's right." Lyria's eyes widened as she considered his words. "That is not how we see the world," she said. "On Valara, actions like this, they come with consequences." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Consequences?" She looked away, her voice dropping. "There are laws, ancient laws. If someone saves a member of the royal family, a price must be paid. It is not negotiable." Marcus frowned, leaning back in his seat. "A price? What kind of price?" Lyria hesitated, then said quietly, "I do not yet know the full extent, but it is serious. It can change your life forever." Marcus was silent for a moment. He had faced death many times, but this was different. The rules of this world were strange, and he had no way of knowing what awaited him. Still, he refused to show fear. "I'll deal with it when the time comes," he said finally. Lyria looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and worry. "I hope you understand. This is not a threat. It is the law. Marcus nodded. I understand. But right now my job is to get you somewhere safe. The hovercraft raced through the sky, weaving between the shattered skyscrapers. Below them, the city was chaos incarnate. Entire streets had collapsed and energy blasts carved fiery paths through the ruins. Marcus scanned the radar on his wrist device, mapping a safe route to the royal palace's secondary stronghold. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted to their left. Marcus yanked the hovercraft sharply to the right, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. The blast rocked the craft, sending them both sprawling. Lyria gasped, clutching Marcus's arm for support. Hold on, he shouted. The hovercraft shuddered violently as another blast hit its rear engine. Sparks flew and Marcus fought to maintain control. The craft lurched forward, dipping dangerously before he managed to stabilize it. Are you okay? He asked, glancing at Lyria. She nodded, though her hands were shaking. I think so. Marcus took a deep breath, forcing his own fear down. We're almost there. Just a little farther. After tense moments that felt like hours, the hovercraft finally approached the hidden stronghold. Massive walls of living metal and crystalline structures rose before them, glowing softly under the stormy sky. Marcus landed the craft carefully on a reinforced platform. As the engines powered down, Lyria climbed out first, then turned to help Marcus. He stepped down beside her, surveying the area. Soldiers in alien armor hurried forward, weapons at the ready, but they paused when they saw Marcus. Whispers rippled through the crowd as they recognized the human who had risked his life to save their princess. A commanding voice called out. Princess Lyria, are you unharmed? Lyria bowed her head slightly. Thanks to him, she said, gesturing toward Marcus. The council of Valara's leaders approached, their expressions solemn. Marcus straightened, preparing himself for whatever formalities this culture required. He had fought countless battles, negotiated with hostile species, and faced deadly situations. But this was unknown territory. One of the council members, a tall figure with translucent skin that glimmered like glass, stepped forward. Captain Marcus Hale, the voice intoned, resonating with authority. Your actions have saved the life of our princess. For that we honor you, but know this, Valara has ancient laws. By saving a royal, you are now bound by our customs. You owe a debt that must be repaid. Marcus's stomach tightened. He had expected thanks, maybe a medal, but not a debt. I didn't do it for a reward, he said. I did it because it was the right thing. The council member inclined their head. Intent is acknowledged, but the law is binding, regardless of motive. You must accept the consequences of your actions. Refusal is not an option. Marcus glanced at Lyria, who met his eyes with a mixture of sorrow and respect. I warned you, she said softly. Marcus exhaled, trying to process the weight of their words. He had faced death countless times, but this was different. The law of Valara was not something he could fight with a rifle or tactical skill. It was a law of honor, ancient and unyielding. The council continued, explaining that the price would be determined by the royal family, and that it could range from a lifetime of service to a permanent bond with the princess and her people. Marcus listened carefully, aware that his choices now could change the course of his life forever. Finally, the council concluded the formalities and stepped back. Lyria approached Marcus, placing a hand gently on his arm. You saved my life, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I wish the law did not demand this of you, but we must respect it. Please trust me. I will do what I can to ensure it is fair. Marcus nodded slowly. I trust you, he said, though his mind was racing. As the sun began to set over the ruined city, casting long shadows across the stronghold, Marcus realized that his mission was far from over. He had saved a life, but in doing so, he had stepped into a world of laws and customs he barely understood. The consequences were coming, and he would have to face them. For now, though, he allowed himself a brief moment of relief. Princess Lyria was safe, and he had survived another day. But deep down, Marcus knew this was only the beginning. Marcus Hale stood in the grand hall of Valara's royal palace, his hands resting lightly on the polished railing of a balcony that overlooked the main chamber. The air was thick with the scent of exotic flowers that pulsed softly with bioluminescence, and the walls seemed alive, their colors shifting subtly as if breathing. Valara's architecture was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. The palace was part organic, part machine, a living testament to a culture that merged nature and technology seamlessly. Princess Lyria walked beside him, her steps measured and graceful, Yet her expression was troubled. "You must understand, Marcus," she said quietly. "This is not a punishment. It is our law. We do not wish to harm those who save us, but the debt must be recognized." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, the tension in his shoulders betraying his calm voice. "I understand that now, Lyria, but I didn't expect this. A law that binds a human to an alien royal family?" He shook his head in disbelief. "I've fought battles that seemed impossible, but I never thought a law would trap me like this." Lyria glanced at him, her violet eyes soft but firm. "It is not a trap. It is a bond, a sacred agreement. Those who save the royal bloodline are considered honorable and are rewarded, but in turn they owe their loyalty and service. The debt ensures the safety of the crown and the stability of our people." Marcus frowned, trying to process the information. In his mind, loyalty was a choice, something earned through respect and trust. The idea that it could be forced by law was alien to him, though he had already learned that Valara was unlike any world he had encountered. A council member approached, their translucent skin glowing faintly. The figure's voice resonated with authority. "Captain Marcus Hale, the council has deliberated. Your debt to the crown must be formalized. You have two choices. You may serve the royal family in a capacity determined by your abilities, or you may undergo the bonding ritual, which will link your life force to the crown itself. This bond will grant you strength beyond human limits, longevity, and resilience, but your freedom to leave Valara will be limited." Marcus's pulse quickened. Strength, longevity, and resilience sounded like enhancements any soldier would dream of. But the cost, his freedom, was something he had never considered giving up. He swallowed hard. "And if I refuse?" The council member's glow brightened slightly. "Refusal is not permitted. The debt must be repaid. Valara's laws are ancient, and the safety of the princess and the crown cannot be compromised. Your choice is only in how you wish to honor the debt." Marcus exhaled slowly. Every instinct in him rebelled against the idea of being bound to a culture he barely understood. And yet he had risked his life to save Lyria. Could he refuse this bond without dishonoring everything he believed in? He glanced at her. She watched him quietly, her expression unreadable, though he sensed worry beneath her calm exterior. "I need time," Marcus said finally. "Time to understand what this bond really means." Lyria nodded. "I will guide you. The council is strict, but they respect wisdom. You are human, and humans are different from Valarans. They will allow you a short period to decide." Over the next few hours, Marcus explored the palace with Lyria. She showed him chambers filled with glowing plants that sang faintly when touched, libraries containing knowledge of generations, and laboratories where Velaran scientists worked on blending biology and technology. Marcus marveled at the ingenuity of this civilization. Every corner of the palace spoke of art, science, and ritual intertwined. But even amidst the wonders, the weight of the law pressed on him. He watched guards patrol the palace, their eyes sharp, their movements precise. He noticed that many of the Valarans glanced at him with a mixture of respect and caution. He was an outsider, yet the one who had saved their princess. His presence was a symbol, both honored and binding. Later, he met with the council in a chamber lined with crystals that refracted light in every direction. The council explained the bonding ritual in more detail. It was not just a symbolic act. The bond would link Marcus's nervous system to the crown through an energy conduit, synchronizing his life force with Valara itself. He would gain enhanced strength, reflexes, and the ability to sense danger with near prescience. His lifespan would extend far beyond normal human limits, and minor injuries would heal rapidly. But the cost was clear. He would remain bound to Valara, unable to leave at will. His actions would always be tied to the safety and needs of the royal family. He could still think for himself, act independently in combat, but leaving the planet or refusing a command from the crown would bring severe consequences, potentially fatal. Marcus listened in silence, weighing the offer. Every instinct in him screamed to run, to return to the freedom of human life among his own kind. But another part of him, the part that had risked everything to save Lyria in the first place, knew that refusing this bond would feel like a betrayal. Lyria approached, her hand resting gently on his arm. "You have always acted with courage, Marcus. Now courage will take a different form. You may fight armies, or you may fight the expectations of law and duty. Both are necessary. Both will define you." Marcus looked into her eyes and saw honesty, concern, and a sense of responsibility that mirrored his own. "If I do this," he asked quietly, "will I still be myself?" She smiled faintly. "Yes, you will be enhanced but not replaced. You will still be the human who saved me, the human who chose to act despite danger. That will never change." The decision weighed heavily on him. Memories of the battle in the city flashed in his mind. The roar of plasma weapons, the fear in Lyria's eyes, the way his heart had driven him forward despite every warning. He realized then that human courage was not only in fighting wars or surviving danger, it was in facing choices that carried moral and personal consequences. "I will do it," he said finally, his voice steady. "I will accept the bond." Lyria nodded solemnly. "Then we begin." The council guided Marcus to a chamber deep within the palace, a room that pulsed with energy. The walls were lined with conduits that glowed softly, and in the center of the room was a platform shaped like an elongated ellipse. Velaran scientists and ritual specialists prepared the conduits and instruments that would link Marcus's life force to the crown. Marcus stepped onto the platform, feeling the hum of energy vibrating through the floor. Lyria stood beside him, her hand brushing lightly against his shoulder for reassurance. He looked around, noticing the expressions of the council and the attendants. Everyone's eyes were focused on him, a mix of anticipation and respect. The ritual began. Energy surged through the conduits, enveloping Marcus in a cocoon of light. He felt a strange warmth spreading through his body, a sense of power and vitality unlike anything he had known. His muscles tensed and relaxed with new strength, and he felt his mind sharpen, senses extending beyond the normal human range. Yet, even as the enhancements coursed through him, a part of his mind remained aware of the cost. The bond was real. He could not leave Valara freely. His actions, his choices, and even his future were now tied to this alien world. It was a strange mix of exhilaration and restraint, freedom and obligation. When the ritual concluded, Marcus stepped down from the platform. He felt different, stronger, faster, more attuned to his surroundings. But he also felt the invisible tether connecting him to the royal family and their people. Lyria looked at him with a mixture of pride and relief. "You have done it," she said softly. "You are now part of Valara, Marcus, in a way that will last far longer than any battle or war you have fought." Marcus took a deep breath, testing his new abilities. He moved his hand through the air and noticed he could sense subtle energy currents around him, including the presence of individuals in the room without seeing them directly. His hearing was sharper, his reflexes quicker. And yet, he felt a strange weight, a responsibility that pressed down on him like gravity. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for trusting me with this, for guiding me through it." Lyria smiled faintly. "It was your courage, Marcus. You earned this as humans do, through action and choice." No sooner had the words left her lips than an alarm sounded throughout the palace. The distant rumble of engines and weapons fire reached their ears. Marcus's enhanced senses picked up multiple incoming threats. Hostile forces that had survived the initial assault were regrouping, heading straight for the palace. Marcus looked at Lyria, determination in his eyes. "We have work to do," Lyria nodded. "Then let us protect Valara together." With his new abilities and human ingenuity, Marcus began coordinating the palace's defenses. He guided the Valaran soldiers using tactics and strategies unfamiliar to them but highly effective. He anticipated enemy movements, placing defenses in locations that maximized their advantage. For the first time, he realized that his bond to the crown was not only a constraint, it was an opportunity to make a difference on a scale he had never imagined. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the palace in a golden glow, Marcus felt a strange sense of purpose. He had accepted the shocking price demanded by Valara's culture, and though it had changed his life, it had also given him a chance to protect the people he had fought to save. He turned to Lyria, who stood at his side, her expression calm and resolute. Together they faced the coming storm, united by duty, courage, and a bond that transcended species, culture, and even worlds. The sky over Valara burned with streaks of orange and red as enemy ships appeared on the horizon. Marcus Hale stood on the palace balcony, the wind tugging at his hair, his enhanced senses picking up every detail. The distant hum of approaching warcraft, the faint vibrations of ground troops moving through the streets, and the rhythm of alien alarms all merged into a single, clear picture. He could feel every movement in the city as if it were an extension of his own body. Beside him, Princess Lyria's expression was steady, but Marcus could sense her tension. The bond between them allowed him to feel the faint pull of her emotions, a blend of fear, hope, and determination. He realized then that the bond was more than just energy. It was connection. It tied them together in purpose as well as law. "We don't have much time," Marcus said, his voice calm but commanding. "The invaders won't wait. We need to defend the palace and the city." Lyria nodded. "I will mobilize the guards. You take the lead on strategy." Marcus moved quickly through the palace, issuing orders with precise efficiency. His human instincts, combined with the enhancements from the bond, allowed him to anticipate enemy maneuvers before they happened. He positioned Velaran defenses in unexpected locations, creating traps and choke points that would maximize the soldiers' strengths and minimize their vulnerabilities. As the enemy forces approached, Marcus could see the first wave of ground troops entering the city. Alien mercenaries, heavily armed and ruthless, advanced with calculated precision. He took a deep breath and prepared to lead the counterattack. The battle began in a flash of energy and motion. Marcus leapt from elevated platforms, moving faster than any human should have been able to, striking with precise blows that incapacitated multiple enemies at once. He coordinated the Velaran soldiers, directing them to exploit weaknesses in the invaders' formations. Even with their advanced technology, the attackers found themselves outmaneuvered by a human mind combined with Velara's incredible resources. Lyria watched from the palace gates. Her hands raised as she used her own abilities to support the defense. She projected protective energy barriers, directing them where Marcus indicated, creating a perfect synergy between human strategy and Velaran power. Marcus could feel the bond pulsing stronger with every movement. The more he fought, the more connected he became to the palace, the city, and the people he had sworn to protect. It was an overwhelming sensation, but instead of fear, it gave him focus and clarity. Every sense, every reflex, every thought was sharpened. He moved toward a cluster of enemy officers attempting to breach the palace perimeter. In a blur of motion, he disarmed them, using both his strength and speed to neutralize the threat. The Velaran soldiers behind him followed his lead, inspired by his fearlessness and skill. From the sky, the enemy deployed drones and energy cannons, raining destruction down on the city. Marcus leapt onto a hovering platform, using it to traverse the battlefield. He ducked and rolled as energy blasts struck nearby, and with careful precision, he redirected some of the alien technology against the attackers. The first phase of the battle was won through ingenuity and coordination, but Marcus knew it was only the beginning. He sensed a larger force approaching, one that would test his limits and the limits of his human mind. Lyria joined him on the platform, her energy glowing brightly. "Marcus," she said, her voice steady, "the Council believes they can hold the city, but you must lead the final strike." Marcus nodded. "Then we finish this together." He scanned the battlefield and formulated a plan. Using the terrain, the palace's defenses, and their combined abilities, he would channel the invaders into a trap. It was risky, but the alternative was certain destruction. The enemy advanced in waves, each larger and more aggressive than the last. Marcus moved like a force of nature, faster and stronger than ever, his mind calculating every possibility. He redirected energy from fallen drones, used debris as weapons, and coordinated the Velaran soldiers with near telepathic precision. Lyria projected a massive energy barrier across the palace entrance, forcing the invaders to funnel into the trap Marcus had prepared. Hidden energy nets, automated defense turrets, and well-positioned soldiers waited, ready to strike. As the first wave of enemies hit the trap, chaos erupted. Explosions rocked the streets, energy beams clashed, and Marcus moved through it all, a figure of lightning and precision. Every enemy that came near was neutralized with efficiency, and the Velaran forces followed his lead without hesitation. Through it all, Marcus kept a watchful eye on the city. Civilians and palace staff were evacuating through safe corridors he had helped establish. He felt the bond pull him toward the people he was protecting, guiding him to ensure their safety even amid the chaos. Hours seemed to pass in mere moments. The invaders pushed forward relentlessly, but Marcus's strategies held. Every time they attempted to break through, he anticipated their moves and countered with perfect timing. Valara's soldiers began to fight with renewed confidence, inspired by a human who had risked his life to save their princess. Finally, the leader of the invading forces appeared, a towering figure clad in dark armor, wielding advanced weaponry. Marcus could feel the enemy's intent, the determination to crush Valara's defenses and claim the city. He braced himself, knowing that this confrontation would decide the battle. The enemy commander charged with terrifying speed and power. Marcus met him head-on, their weapons clashing in a shower of sparks. The force of the impact sent vibrations through Marcus's enhanced body, but he held firm. Every skill, every reflex, every ounce of training was pushed to its limit. Lyria joined the fray, projecting energy blasts that disoriented the commander, giving Marcus openings to strike. With a calculated combination of strength, speed, and strategy, Marcus overpowered the enemy leader, forcing him to retreat. The remaining invaders, leaderless and demoralized, began to fall back, and the city's defenders pressed forward to secure the victory. The battle was won. Marcus stood amidst the ruins, breathing heavily but unbowed. The city was battered, but Valara had survived and its people were safe. Soldiers and civilians alike looked to him with admiration, whispers spreading about the human who had turned the tide of the battle. Lyria approached, her hand resting on his shoulder. "You did it, Marcus," she said softly, her eyes filled with gratitude and awe. "You saved Valara." Marcus smiled, though he was exhausted. "We did it," he said. "Together." The council members arrived, their expressions solemn but respectful. "Captain Marcus Hale," one of them said, "you have honored Valara beyond measure. Your actions and your courage will be remembered for generations. You have not only saved the princess and her people, but you have shown what humanity can bring to the galaxy: intelligence, bravery, and honor." Marcus felt a strange warmth at their words. He had always believed in human potential, in the power of courage and ingenuity, but hearing it recognized by an alien culture was something entirely new. It was affirmation not only of his actions, but of what humans could achieve when faced with impossible odds. Lyria looked at him, her eyes reflecting both pride and relief. "Valara owes you more than words can express, Marcus. You have become a part of our history, our culture, and our hearts." Marcus nodded, feeling the bond pulsing gently in response. It reminded him that while he had gained power and longevity, he had also gained connection to a world he had once only fought in as an outsider. Now he was part of it, a human who had bridged the gap between two cultures. As the sun rose over the city, casting light on the battered but resilient streets, Marcus walked with Lyria through the palace gardens. The air was fresh, the bioluminescent plants glowing softly as if celebrating their victory. Children and citizens began to emerge, cheering for the defenders and the human who had risked everything for them. Marcus stopped for a moment, looking up at the sky. He thought about his home, the distant planets he had known, and the life he had led before Valara. Nothing could compare to what he had experienced here: the bonds formed, the lives saved, and the knowledge that human courage could inspire even the most advanced civilizations. Lyria spoke softly beside him. "Marcus, your life has changed forever, but so has ours. You have shown that the heart of humanity can endure, adapt, and rise above even the greatest challenges. That is something no law, no bond can take away." Marcus smiled, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. "Then I suppose I am exactly where I am meant to be," he said. Together they walked through the gardens, the palace alive with the hum of Valara's unique energy. The bond between Marcus and the crown remained, a constant reminder of sacrifice and duty, but also of honor, courage, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. In the days that followed, Marcus continued to train Valaran forces, share his strategies, and protect the princess and her people. His name became a symbol, whispered in awe across the planet. He had accepted a shocking price, yes, but in doing so, he had earned a legacy, one that celebrated not only his bravery galaxy. Marcus realized then that being a hero was not just about facing danger or winning battles. It was about choosing to act when it mattered most, even when the cost was unknown. It was about standing for what was right, not because of law or reward, but because it defined who you were. And in that moment, Marcus Hale understood some